For Wayne Becker, some of his most beloved pastimes include hunting and going to Round Rock Express games. But an all-time favorite, scuba diving.
It's just the best thing ever to be able to scuba dive because I feel like I'm normal, like with everyone else just floating along.
When Becker says normal, he means being able to walk or move his arms.
My name is Wayne Becker. I've been in a wheelchair 43 years now, since I was 20 years old.
As someone with quadriplegia, Becker relies on buttons, a joystick, and a daily caregiver to even get out of bed in the morning.
I also require someone in the evening to prepare a meal and put me in bed and do some cleaning. And this is just something I need every day to live my life.
And he no longer has his closest companion and support system. He lost his wife of more than 20 years about 15 months ago.
And ever since then, some days my caregiver calls off or has to go to an appointment or something, and I call the agency and they tell me, well, we just don't have nobody for you. So I'm stuck in bed on those days for sometimes 20 hours.
That story is so many people's story.
A story Marjorie Costello has seen play out in other lives in recent years.
If you can't get out of bed, you can't live a life.
But it's how caregivers are compensated that is causing fewer and fewer to stay.
Once the pandemic hit and inflation hit, so people were more concerned about going into other people's homes, and inflation hit, so everything just cost so much more. When that happened, we went straight into a crisis. We went into a crisis where our caregivers, probably 50% of them, had to leave.
Devastating those with disabilities. She's seen it firsthand.
When they don't have that support system, what do? They sit in their homes alone. They soil themselves, and they can't clean themselves because nobody is there to help them. They don't eat. They don't get out of bed. It is a tragedy, and it's not the way that they need to spend, this latter portion of their life. And then they end up in a hospital or they end up in a nursing facility, which is 3 times more expensive than us.
In the fall of 2023, state legislators approved a caregiver raise from $8.11 an hour to $10.60.
And they could easily go and get a job for $15 an hour at a swath of fast food or convenience stores.
And because of how it was implemented, opportunity for overtime was taken away. And some agencies cut PTO and health care to afford to pay their caregivers the new wage.
I commend the legislature for passing it and trying to do what's right. It just, in application did not work out that way.
So they'll keep asking.
The only people who can fix it are right there.
Asking on behalf of people like Wayne Becker. He was given less than 6 months to replace his current caregiver who can't afford it anymore.
And I don't want to be put into a nursing home.
Because he has a lot of life to live, scuba diving included.
It's hard to live a life in a wheelchair, but you make an adjustment and you decide whether you want to just do nothing and waste away or whether you want to go on and be positive and live your life. And I chose, as long as the Lord is with me, I'm going to keep do whatever I can to do the best in life and continue with my life.
Carissa Lehmkuhl, Fox 7 Austin News.
They're just awesome. They're awesome animals.
At Wagon Springs Ranch.
Sorry, hold on. Blanco.
A lot of Coral
Stop.
Chambers' time is spent corralling Blanco and his ladies.
We noticed like 3 years ago when we were breeding him that every time a calf was born, it was this really light colored, cream, and we thought, oh my goodness, that's what he's throwing every time. And that's when we were like, well, let's breed him with this blonde and see what happens.
Blonde plus blonde equaled white. And white is once in a blue moon.
We leaned down and looked into the brush and I said, what is that? And I was like, oh my goodness.
Meet Unchi. It means snow in Cherokee. a Native American tribe that would hold the calf in high esteem.
To my understanding, it's just like a sign of like a good omen of peace and good times to come, and maybe the land is fertile, and some people just believe it's a very good spiritual thing. Whoa, 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 whoa.
To test their theory, they had Blanco breed with another blonde bison as well, to see if it would happen again.
And of course it didn't. So that's when we knew, okay, this is still something really rare.
Just how rare, it's hard to tell right now as young Unchi keeps her distance.
True albinoism is very rare. So albinoism is the complete lack of pigmentation. Leucism is different. It's a white animal, but there is some pigmentation, and that is more common than albinoism.
Once in a blue moon on the first try for Mom.
Maybe she'll do one next year, but odds of that, I don't know.
So for now, Unchi stands out a little, but still just one of the herd.
Looks like a little lamb though, doesn't it?
Don't mess with Texas. Texas Terry, that is. At 11 years old, he already has quite the resume, and it's growing.
Then I looked at the leaderboard, and I was in first place by 1 point, and I looked at my mom and said, I'm going to Augusta.
Most recently, Texas won the third of 3 qualifiers to secure a ticket to compete at Augusta on the eve of the Masters tournament.
My name is Texas Terry, and I'm going to Augusta, baby. Hook 'em.
Yes, he loves the Longhorns, and alum Scotty Scheffler, of course.
He has great short game, and that's kind of my weakness, because I'm kind of a range nerd. Like every day after school, I go to the range, and I'm there for like an hour and a half, maybe, heck, even 2 hours. And I'm just hitting balls, working on my irons and all that. And he's amazing at short game, and I'm not really great at that.
Well, he's definitely not bad. And for this upcoming competition, he'll have to drive, chip, and putt.
It's gonna come down to the short game, chipping and putting, because you drive for show, you putt for dough.
Drive for show, putt for dough. But Texas says what he really loves about the game.
When you're competing, yeah, you're going against each other, but as soon as that's done, you're like best friends.
Friends he's made and time with family.
I grew up loving golf, and so we would take him out to the golf course, and when he was little, like 4, 5, 6.
And it's paid off. Dad gets to caddy at Augusta.
I'll be right there cheering him on and talking about the shots.
Until then, navigating practice, home life, and the 5th grade.
We'll come out to the course and be outside and be together as a family and practice for a little while and go play a few holes, and then we go home and eat dinner, and he does his homework and hangs out with his dog.
Just a regular kid with some Texas-sized talent and a side of personality.
Who do you want to win the Masters?
There's a couple people. Pretty much anybody that went to Texas. There's one. Rory McIlroy, of course, and Tommy Fleetwood, because he has the best hair on the tour.
Kevin Voorhees flies planes for a living.
My transition out of the Navy into civilian life was difficult.
Well, he used to.
2010 to 2012, and for a short time in 2014, I decided to go get some counseling.
Diagnosed at the time with depression, anxiety, and insomnia, but he says the counseling was successful.
I haven't had any treatments, symptoms, anything since then.
Fast forward to last summer after a couple of years as a commercial airline pilot.
I got a letter from the FAA along with 4,800 other veterans saying there's discrepancies between your VA medical and your FAA medical.
The VA and FAA have been cross-checking medical records, noting some veterans working as pilots were receiving VA benefits for conditions they did not disclose to the FAA. It's part of an overall push to address potential underlying mental health issues and ultimately passenger safety. In October, an off-duty Alaska airline pilot made headlines after he tried to shut down a plane engine mid-flight during what he said was a nervous breakdown. But Voorhees says the root issue is the current system itself, one that encourages a culture of secrecy or ignoring mental health care altogether to protect livelihoods.
It's well documented. There's a lot of people who have gone, they've grounded themselves, and they go to counseling, they go through the proper avenues, report it to the FAA, and the FAA just goes into a black hole. And again, they're grounded for years.
Not to mention money and time spent seeing FAA-approved specialists. The FAA lists these conditions as potentially disqualifying and also notes other conditions not specifically listed in the regulations are also disqualifying.
Mental health is really what's in the headlines right now, but it's really the whole medical system, aeromedical system at the FAA currently.
The mental health conversation has really taken off in recent months. A DOT Office of Inspector General report in July found that the agency's ability to mitigate safety risks is limited by pilots' reluctance to disclose mental health conditions. On February 7th, the bipartisan group of lawmakers sent a letter encouraging the FAA to modernize its mental health protocols. In December, FAA Administrator Michael Whitaker established a new committee to tackle the issue, an issue he addressed during a February 6th Senate subcommittee hearing.
I think it's long overdue to update the approach to mental health and just treat these as health issues and have a clearer path to treatment and get people back in the cockpit as quickly as possible.
Voorhees hopes there is follow-through to improve what he calls an antiquated and cumbersome system.
They need to change the culture to encourage pilots to get mental health treatment. A system where if you need to ground yourself for mental health issues, get counseling, that getting back to the cockpit is a lot more efficient.
As he plays a waiting game on the ground due to years-old medical records.
There's a pilot shortage, and they're discouraging other pilots from even getting into the industry.
Surreal sight.
That's just so dramatic. It's just shocking. And then they walked away.
That drew onlookers all day Monday, including plane enthusiasts Carol and Frank Saxon.
We go to the airport frequently, and I listen to the tower on my phone, and we used to own a plane, and so I just relate to all of that. We're the old folks that go sit there and park on the grass, and then we judge the landings.
But this was a first, also reacting to the wreck.
My daughter was the first out of the plane.
Monica Stenson, seeing it firsthand for the first time.
Shock, disbelief. I just thank God that he had a hand in this. Everything that could have gone right for such a horrific situation. Complete emotions. How they survived this is beyond me. Just the impact alone, the fact that, fuel was pouring from the plane.
Her daughter, 30-year-old Lauren Perales, was one of 3 passengers. Friends with the pilot and his wife, it was a routine trip, heading back from having breakfast in Fredericksburg in their single-engine Beechcraft BE-35, almost to the Georgetown Executive Airport when they started to have engine failure, and the pilot had to make a life-or-death decision.
We're close now. We got an aircraft possibly crashed in south of the airport, or south side of the airport.
My daughter said when they landed, they were upside down. So she was, of course, disoriented, but found a way out. She kind of fell through the roof a little bit, but was able to catch herself and then find a way down. She was yelling at the others, since she had already found a path down.
Do you see anything off your left? We haven't found the aircraft yet.
Neighbors got there just ahead of first responders, who are now letting the NTSB and FAA take the lead.
Our involvement right now is purely supportive. There was a mild fuel leak that was occurring. We were able to have that contained. We believe the home is structurally sound. We did have building officials make that determination. So short of some severe weather changes, we believe that the aircraft itself poses no risk to either the property or the people around it.
By Sunday afternoon, Lauren and the couple had walked out of the hospital with just one broken bone between all of them.
They were all still in shock, completely distraught. Today, all she says is, "I'm just so thankful to be alive."